Make it hard to change your mind. Over the last 10 weeks, I've made 10 videos on global poverty. This one is a reflection on these, an evaluation of what I've learned. I'll end with a personal reflection on this process. The first video, I learned that fixing climate change and ending poverty is one and the same. The only way to save the lemurs is by further economic growth. On that, I haven't changed my mind. I'd like to add a nuance. The loss of biodiversity is, according to Hannah Ritchie, the hardest nut to crack among the global problems, but we'll move closer to a solution by increasing living conditions. The second video was about the Malthusian trap and why all countries must escape it. The Malthusian economy says that my winnings is another one's loss. If I eat a slice of that pie, there's no slice for you. England was the first country to escape it by technological innovation, trade, and an effective market economy, making that pie bigger, so big that there's plenty for everyone in a nation. The third video wasn't about poverty. There I congratulated David Attenborough on his 100th birthday and the importance of his voice. The fourth video was an investigation on the goal end poverty and if that ever was a realistic goal. It turns out it was, if you apply the China growth trend to all the countries that need growth. Very optimistic and not that realistic. We're estimated to reach the year 2030 with 800 million people remaining in extreme poverty. What I learned though is the importance of a target. A more initiated person might be able to tell me truly, but maybe the SDGs were more like SDTs, Sustainable Development Targets. We didn't miss the goal cause it never was more than a target. The fifth video was about the most important problem this century for the African continent to increase its crop yield. Quote, increasing the productivity of smallholder farming is a crucial step in countries transitioning from poverty to middle incomes. This made me aware of how growth not only means in size but more often in efficiency. In the sixth video, I learned that total equality would not solve extreme poverty, as there's some countries, Madagascar among them, that has a mean income of less than $3 per day. The only way forward is economic growth, a bigger pie, an escape from the Malthusian trap, not absolute equality, even though this remains as one of the two ways to lift people out of that poverty. The seventh video gave an important thought experiment for the privileged minority. You can imagine the prices of everything you buy and own increasing 20-fold. That's poverty. The eighth video was about other levels of poverty, showing that the world is on a whole very poor. 85% of the world's economies have a lower mean income than $30 per day per person. The ninth video, last week's video, investigated how economic growth is not an antagonist to a sustainable planet, which I've been taught to believe. It's complex but simple. The world needs to get richer, but without the previous trend causing more harm to the planet alongside this economic growth. This is the 10th and last video on the SDG number 1, end poverty. Now there'll be 10 videos on SDG number 2, zero hunger. But what is all this worth? Well, to start with, I wanted to write. I write the big bulk of my spare time. It's nothing fancy, just an ambition to, if nothing else but for myself, portraying a typical me in the circumstances in which I'm living. Good literature finds this common ground, identification, so that if I write that stuff any good, someone else will or might identify with it. To be able to do that and to put my patience in a context too, my worldview cannot be based on assumptions and lies. And this is important. My worldview must be, if not true, then less false than what it would have been hadn't I spent these hours on Our World in Data. I find one can only talk about writing literature that much before you start giving writing advice, which I never find myself able to do. But learning and reading about the world is, it seems, an infinite source of inspiration. Thus, I made this project performing exceptionally poorly YouTube-wise, but performing equally great if looking at personal growth and the change in perception of our current time. This does something valuable to the mind, basically. I finished Not the End of the World by Hannah Ritchie the other day and was struck by a certain sentence saying something like, "This is an area in which I'll easily change my mind on in the future," which implies that in some other areas she won't change her mind that easily out of convictions based on years of research. That created this ambition of mine. Make it harder for me to change my mind. Even though not many have watched the videos, I've seen a tendency that the subjects engage in another way than do literature. The comments haven't been very nice. We're in for a die-off, etc. And also, my a bit superior view on things is provocative, as I'm not poor. How can I talk about poverty while being rich, as if it was a hobby? I meet people as a doctor every day, trying the best I can to understand their perspective on the world. Likewise, I'm trying to use these data, this knowledge, to better understand the suffering of humans all around the world. Yes, I'm emotional distancing myself, as it's sometimes horrible, but intellectually, I find great value in this process. When someone says we're all doomed, I can, after some time and just 10 weeks, feel that no, we're not. And it's not that easy to change my mind on that. Next up, one video per week for 10 weeks on how to end hunger. Thank you for watching and see you next week. Bye.